You all know me. Know how I earn a living. This shark, swallow you whole. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. Find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. $10,000 for me by myself. With that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
You yell shark, we've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wreck hull of the boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
A what?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Get your name into the National Geographic.
No, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
Get out of that boat!
Well, this is not a boat accident. There wasn't any propeller. There wasn't any coral reef. And it wasn't Jack the Ripper.
It was a shark.
I'll never put on that nice jacket again.
You are in the Jaws Obsession, Episode 4, where we're here to share with you, prove to you, convince you, or remind you that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time. And the countdown to Episode 20 continues, Episode 4. If you'd like to reach out to us at the Jaws Obsession here, you can go to jawsob.com, Jaws, the letters ob.com. You can write to us at jawsob2025@gmail.com. We have links to all of these over on our contacts page at jawsob.com. You can get an invite. Come join us over at the Discord server. When I do these shows, I'm usually on both the Discord server and Telegram channels. If you catch me on there, you can always ask me a question. Maybe we can actually get a question in while these shows are being recorded. And the platforms continue to grow where we can find the Jaws Obsession. Aside from Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, there's a couple more platforms in the works. We're hoping to be on Pandora soon. Right now we are on YouTube. There are many ways to find the show. And if you know anyone that is a fan of Jaws or anyone that would be interested, point them over to here, because we are going to need everyone together. This is going to be our rallying show for what we have going on, because we're going to need everybody in on this. Episode 20 obviously is going to be the big reveal. Some of you have asked, why episode 20? Just come out and say it right now. That can't. The reason why I chose episode 20 is there is a lot of wheels in motion behind the scenes trying to get caught up. We have to get our sea legs here on the Jaws Obsession, and that's pretty much, it put me on a clock, and I work better when there is pressure. So episode 20 is the clock, and we're doing a weekly show. So if this is episode 4, we have 16 more weeks to go, and that is the clock that I'm on in order to get all the wheels correctly in motion, that we hit the ground running by episode 20. Everything will make sense when you hear it. And of course, during episode 20, another clock will start. And that is going to be something that will lead to, which we will know, which will be something that's going to be a big event in the Jaws world. And that's what we are doing here. We're a lot more than just the broadcast with the Jaws is the greatest movie of all time, which is how it originally intended. Now there's something else going on here that's a lot bigger. It's a lot bigger than myself. It's a lot bigger than just one person. This is a whole community, the Jaws fan community coming together, and we're going to have to make this work. It's the right time and the place. It needs to be done, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this opportunity to be here and to be able to be in this position, because we're going to be doing something that no other fan base for a movie has ever done before. Not to my knowledge. So that will all be revealed in episode 20. In that time, we have to get everybody together. We have to get people following the show, and let's get people on board. On that note, I have a little something here. If you have ever lost a child on a beach, even for a brief second, Jaws is for you. If you have ever had a nervous first day on the job and felt out of place, the movie Jaws is for you. If you have ever tried to warn someone of a situation that you knew was going to be dangerous and they just didn't listen, Jaws is for you. If you have ever had a disagreement with a politician or a political machine, Jaws is the movie for you. If you have ever been in a career for a lifetime and now you see the new generation coming up behind you, well, Jaws is for you. Likewise, if you have ever been new to a career and you had to work with a seasoned veteran of that field, Jaws is for you. If you have ever had a really bad day at work and you came home exhausted and defeated, Jaws is definitely for you. If you ever spent time on the water or worked on a crew and felt the camaraderie and closeness that was created, Jaws is the movie for you. If you have ever been swimming in the deep and looked down to see nothing but felt you were watched by something, Jaws is for you. If you have ever been afloat on the water and you wondered what you look like on the surface by whatever is lurking below, then Jaws is for you. And finally, if you have ever had to face your greatest fear or fears, fear of heights, fear of water, fear of electricity, a fear of failure, a fear of rejection, a fear of defeat, all in order to protect, care for, or support your family and loved ones, Jaws is for you. Like Brody pulling the trigger on the final round in the chamber of the M1 Garand, you also can accomplish something impossible or achieve a goal that is seemingly unattainable. Buy a new house, obtain a college degree, raise a child into a young man or woman, get a raise, write a book, create a painting. All of these are victories in a life full of marauding sharks of self-doubt looking to take you down. That's what is special about Jaws. Jaws is not just a monster shark movie. It's a people movie that just happens to have a monster shark in it. It was a film made by the hands of real people working against impossible odds. About one man working against impossible odds. Such is life. Now, if you have listened to this list of reasons and still feel Jaws isn't the movie for you, just live life a little while longer. In time, you will realize Jaws is the movie for you. A little something I was thinking about the other day and wanted to get out there. Maybe we'll make this into a Jaws philosophy show. Let's get to some emails here. Hello, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the flasher theory. I think that beeping was just added in for dramatic effect, so at night you could hear and see the flashing. Great show, thanks. Dean, Syracuse, New York. Well, Dean writes in, and he's obviously referring to episode 2 regarding the SDU-5E strobe light. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that podcast. Dean, I think I think I agree with you more than you think, because the beeping was used for dramatic effect. I did a little digging into the screenplay because I just wanted to stamp some final thoughts into if the flasher was going to play a more prominent role in the movie. And I did notice when it was referenced as in scene 183, a close-up angle on Hooper. He finds what he's looking for, a small, powerful strobe unit, waterproofed, a miniature signal beacon. He triggers it, and it begins to pulse with light. We can see even in the sun. Hooper scampers to the foredeck and begins to rig the light to the first barrel as the shark begins to surface near the bow. Then we cut to, let's see, if you flip through the screenplay, you go to 187, scene 187, exterior orca, open sea, on the open sea at night, throttled back to slow ahead. The boat circles the water endlessly, staying over the shark like an avenging angel. Its running lights gleam in the night and the glow lights the interior of the pilot house. A bright strobe glints on the water, winking once like a firefly. Scene 188, interior pilot house, night. Brody and Hooper at the table, Quint at the wheel, keeping his eye on the light. Quint says, "He's up again." Quint corrects course slightly to keep the barrel buoy in sight. So there was scenes that were not filmed that there were in the screenplay of them actually watching the light played a role where they were tracking the light at night. Obviously they didn't go to this; they just cut right to after dinner inside the Orca. But the audible beep, as Dean suggested, which was used for dramatic effect, I also believe it was to tell the audience that there was a signal being given off. It's mentioned in the screenplay. It's a signal beacon. And not just a visual light, but a signal that could be honed in with the gear that we saw Hooper use on his boat during the night scene investigation of Ben Gardner's boat. So we had foreshadowing where Hooper had all this scientific gear, and he was honing in on like a fish finder, and he was honing in on larger objects that were out there. So he was actually using his gear in the Ben Gardner boat scene earlier in the movie. So I don't see how this couldn't have played a better role had they had more time, or maybe they got the shark working and they didn't need to go to this little bit of a subplot that they had alluded to in these scenes. Thanks for the letter. It's a great comment from Dean. We encourage more of that type of active listening and interaction with the show, agreements or disagreements. It doesn't matter. We're here to talk about Jaws, and that's the best part. Let's see here. I got another email here from No Name. How can Jaws be the greatest movie ever when the shark looks fake AF? Well, what does AF mean? I'm just kidding. I know what AF means. I might be older, but I'm not that out of touch. And it's a family show. We're not going to get into all that. So let's just take this statement for what it is. How can Jaws be the greatest movie ever when the shark looks fake AF? So I'm going to assume that whoever sent this in is of the younger generations, since he's speaking in acronyms, or he or she. And the younger generations, I've noticed that they're used to digital, they're used to everything digital, CGI, computer-generated images, to tell the story in today's movies. When there was no computer, there was no CGI back in 1974 when they made Jaws. So I wanted to get into this a little bit because that email reminded me of, so the expectation from younger generations that CGI is the way to tell the story, and if it's not CGI, then it looks fake. Well, to my generation, I'm Generation X, and to even older generations, CGI looks fake and flat. And a lot of the times, in my opinion, the best way to handle that would be a blend of the two, where you still have to have the foam and makeup and real artistry of creature creation special effects, but it's backed up by CGI. Movies that have successfully tackled this, the one off the top of my head would be Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. Peter Jackson obviously tackled that with perfection on that. He would have a front line of creatures coming at you with masks and slime and all the lighting, backed up by CGI of 10,000. So you have a whole army, but you're blending the two. So you are bringing reality into that situation. So CGI should be used to back up what is a real creature effect. So this email actually reminded me of an article that I remember seeing on thedailyjaws.com a few years back. We're looking at from February 25th, 2019, an article by Dean Newman called Spruce Bruce Up with CGI, says Dreyfuss. Matt Hooper may have been in Sharks, but it looks like the actor who played him in Jaws, Richard Dreyfuss, is in CGI Sharks, as he recently told Deadline that the beloved mechanical Bruce should get a CGI makeover. Interviewed at the Catalina Film Festival, the Oscar-winning actor said, quote, "They should put the money into CGI to replace that beast and make it come alive. Is that blasphemy? No, I don't think so. The technology now could make the shark look as good as the rest of the movie." Still quoting, "I think they should do it. It would be huge and it would open up the film to younger people." End quote. Mr. Newman goes on to write, "It's of course all the more ironic as Catalina was the recent home of a Jaws exhibition celebrating the very practical effects of the first summer blockbuster and the talents of Jaws production designer Joe Alves. You can read about the incredible exhibition here, and he includes a link to Night at the Jawseum, which was an article about that night. So do you think Jaws will be more accessible to younger people with a CGI shark? Let's give the younger folks a bit of credit. They know a classic when they see it and can appreciate it for the time it was made. It's no different for the likes of The Exorcist or The Omen. There's no need to tamper with a classic. Otherwise, you take some of those intrinsic elements that gave it the classic status in the first place." And Mr. Newman is correct. He's correct in that assessment. And Mr. Dreyfuss is he's actually making an appeal to younger people. And I think that's where the mistake is, to say, oh, we can go in and fix this. And we've seen that done in error, whether it's been with Star Wars or E.T. or other movies. And that is that leads us to our video clip. So go to Telegram channel, JawsOB, Discord server, JawsOB, #1973. You can follow that at the contacts page and get links to those. But the video that I'm going to be referencing here is called Jaws the Revenge Shark Chase Sequence, Visual Effects Redone. And this was from August 13th, 2018. This was also featured on the article of thedailyjaws.com by Dean Newman. So I'm gonna post a link to this and the link to the video in our show notes, so you can go and watch this video. But in this video, it premiered on Joe Blow Originals on YouTube. And let's see here, Jaws the Revenge Shark Chase Sequence, Visual Effects Redone. Sharks took a bite out of the box office this past weekend with the Meg ruling the cinematic ocean, a standard set by the original summer movie Jaws. However, the subsequent sequels dropped off in quality from one to the next, with the last one, Jaws 4: The Revenge, scraping the bottom of the ocean floor when it comes to, well, everything, but specifically the god-awful shark that was used in the movie. Not only does it look like a Troma reject puppet, but it somehow also roars. It was the nail in the coffin for the franchise, even with Michael Caine's presence, where it has remained lost at sea. Now it's getting a second life thanks to Steve Clark and his team at CKV Effects, who have recreated the shark for the chase scene at the end of Jaws 4: The Revenge. It's a stark contrast and shows just how much has changed in the 20 years when it comes to visual effects. It shows the potential of what the film could have been given a bigger budget and, well, time travel. As much as we can admire some of the old effects works of years past, there are some films that just begging to get a second chance, and this one fits in the bill perfectly. Take a look and enjoy. So when you watch this, it plays the shark chase sequence where Michael Brody, played by Lance Guest, is being chased through through the water. He's in scuba gear and he's being chased through a sunken ship by the shark. And it's a split frame, so it shows what this visual effects company did. They removed the fake shark, or the mechanical shark that was created back in 1987 for Jaws the Revenge, and they've put in a CGI great white. And as impressive as it looks, what this actually shows is the fatal flaw of what visual effects can do when they try to make everything seem so real. Now, if you watch this, we all are very comfortable now with the look of a great white shark. And if you've watched after decades of Shark Week, we all know the great whites, they're not as menacing looking as they used to be because we are familiar with them. So here you watch this. I want everybody to go over and watch this video. Jaws: The Revenge was a train wreck. The shark they used was a train wreck. This is not. We're not talking about Jaws. We're talking about Jaws: The Revenge here. That they remade this sequence, and it does look impressive with what they did. But they used a real great white shark, in that it has kind of like this hunky-dory smile that great whites have when their jaw is slack and they're just kind of cruising. They have kind of like this smile, and it's kind of just, cruising along after Michael Brody, who's swimming for his life. And to me, it's kind of comical. It looks kind of funny because we know great whites are not aggressive like this. We know great whites will not, they will not track someone through a sunken ship, but we are now seeing a real great white do that. So it actually looks just as comical. And that's where the mistake was, which Mr. Dreyfuss is making, thinking that if you remove Bruce, the mechanical shark that was used in Jaws, and you spruce him up and spruce him up with CGI and put a CGI shark into play. The mistake, I think, what they would do is they would try to make it look real. And the thing about Jaws is what I always say, Jaws is a hyperactive reality movie. Okay, hyperactive, as in, let's look at the definition of hyperactive. It's according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, we have hyperactive is affected with or exhibiting hyperactivity, more active than is usual or desirable, intricately or elaborately designed or detailed. And if you look at hyper means above, beyond, excessively, or excessive reality, intricately or elaborately designed reality, hyperactive reality. And that's where the magic of Jaws is. It's a Amity Island. It's a fictional island, but it's based on a real island. Okay, you have the blowing up of a compressed air tank, which we know would not do that. If we've watched the MythBusters special on Jaws. Okay, we have a fictional island. We have everything is kind of a little bit larger than life, and then when you look at the shark is obviously the size. It's bigger than an average great white, but it has jowls on the side of its mouth, where a real great white doesn't. The gill slits on the shark in Jaws, they're actually inverted. They're reversed. If you look at the gills of a great white, the slits are usually straight up and down, but the gill slits on Bruce the shark, they actually hook to the back of the shark instead of hook to the front. You have a massive dorsal fin and absolutely massive pectoral fins, which are out of proportion of what a real great white would have. But we don't care, because what happens is it takes this real thing and it makes it hyperactive, and that triggers our imagination. That triggers the terrifying aspect of the scenes where we do see the shark. And of course, it's the director's job to not rely on that as much, of which Steven Spielberg did not. And we got a taste of the shark, and that was just enough. So Jaws still works. The younger generation, aside from our anonymous emailer, might think it looks fake on its front. It still is a real creature that was in the water coming up out at Brody when he's throwing the chum into the water. That's what got the reaction back then. That's what still gets the reaction back then. I still watch people jump to that scene when I go see revival screenings. So that's where, when we look at Jaws today, if we are going to do more Jaws things, if we are going to do more work into the Jaws world, we're going to have to look at it as a hyperactive reality. And we're going to have to embrace that, because you have to toe that line. It's a fine line to walk, because you can be so hyperactive that you pogo, or you just fall into, you just don't pogo into absurdity. You could just trip and fall into absurdity. Kind of like Meg, kind of like Deep Blue Sea. I don't know why the shark movies of today have to do this. If they rely on CGI way too much, it really looks phony. Or they get really obnoxious with the size of the shark. Or when they create an actual real shark, an animatronic shark, like they did with Deep Blue Sea, and they even did it with the USS Indianapolis film with Nicolas Cage. Yes, even in the USS Indianapolis Men of Courage movie from 2016, if you look at the sharks in that, I don't know why studios have to do this, but they're never biologically correct. They are always kind of a hybrid of great white and mako shark, long teeth, big black eyes, extreme point, but size, and it doesn't matter what shark they're trying to convey. They always kind of come out with the same one. And so they take that hyperactive reality, and even though they're trying to make it real, they keep thinking, oh, we got to make it terrifying. We got to make it terrifying. Sharks can be terrifying enough if they are put in the correct situation. And it's not needed that embellishment is not needed in certain situations like Men of Courage. But for some reason, they always do it. To me, Jaws is its own world. Amity is its own island. It's our own reality. And in that reality, we have Bruce the Shark, that is Jaws. You cannot replace that. You cannot take that out. You cannot put a CGI of a real great white in there. You do not get the same effect. People might say, oh, wow, look at how they did that. You messed with the movie. It's not going to have the same effect. So that is proved here with Jaws the Revenge chase sequence, visual effects redone. I urge everybody to go watch the video. And that's the beauty of Jaws, is the world that it created and all the little philosophies that exist in there. And I'm glad we were able to touch on that with emails to the show. So please keep writing in. And we'll see. Well, I hit the wrong button here.
A what?
Oh, man, we got a lot of sound effects here.
Tiger shark. Get out of that boat!
Yep. That's what we do on the Jaws Obsession. We have sound effects everywhere. So with that,
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to
take it away, gentlemen.
I had a little think about an hour ago, and it's gotten right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea or home.
And the movie Jaws is copyrighted property of Universal Studios. Any reference and sampling from the movie Jaws in this episode is intended to fall within Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Copyrighted materials are fairly used for the purpose of criticism, comment, reporting, teaching, and research. The materials used here are protected by the fair use guidelines of Section 107 of the Copyright Act. All rights reserved to the copyright owners. So let's see here. Remember to go to jawsob.com. Follow the links on the contact page to our Telegram Discord channels. Let's get everybody who's listening, make sure you follow the show on whatever platform you're listening to. Like the show. Rate it up there with as the best you can. And let's spread the word. Tell people that you're listening to this. And we have to all come together. So our march to episode 20 continues. Thank you for listening to episode 4, The Jaws Obsession. Until next week, farewell and adieu. Show me the way to go home.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired.